Hello and welcome to Endeavour's GK Capsule for the month of November 2020. The big news this month are the results of Bihar Assembly elections, death of Diego Maradona and the huge farmers' protest at Delhi towards the end of the month. Let's look at these and other news highlights of the month. The first category is awards and recognitions. The Scottish-American author Douglas Stuart has won the prestigious Booker Prize 2020 for his novel Shuggie Bain. Shuggie Bain is the first book by Douglas Stuart. The book is an autobiographical novel that follows a boy growing up in poverty in 1980s Scotland with a mother who is battling alcohol addiction. 6 books were shortlisted for this year's Booker Prize. Along with the winner Shuggie Bain, the shortlisted 6 contained 3 more debut novels. These are Burnt Sugar by Indian-American writer Avni Doshi, The New Wilderness by Diane Cook, and Real Life by Brandon Taylor. Booker Prize ceremony, which is normally a grand affair with long speeches and readings from shortlisted books, was held in a relatively quiet manner this year due to the pandemic, with the shortlisted authors joining in from their homes. The winner, Douglas Stuart, received a prize money of £50,000 and a huge international attention. The Tata Literature Live announced its annual literary awards for the year 2020. The award for the Book of the Year in the fiction category was presented to writer Annie Zaidi for her novel Prelude to a Riot. The Book of the Year in the non-fiction category was T.M. Krishna's A Brief History of Mridangam Makers. The Business Book of the Year award was presented to Sunil Kant Munjal for writing The Making of Hero, 4 Brothers, 2 Wheels and a Revolution That Shaped India, where he documents the history of his family and the business. Celebrated writer Ruskin Bond was conferred with the Tata Literature Live Lifetime Achievement Award for 2020, while the poet and screenwriter Javed Akhtar was honored with the Poet Laureate Award for his sustained and outstanding contribution to poetry in India. Malayalam film Jallikattu is India's official entry to the Best International Feature Film category of Oscar Awards 2021. The film is directed by Lijo Jose Pellicerri. Set in Kerala's Idukki district, the film is based on a short story, Maoist, by S. Harish. Titled after traditional bull timing festival in South India, the film is about the violence and depravity that is prevalent in everyday life. In the words of Rahul Ravel, chairman of Film Federation of India jury which selected the film depicts the raw side of human beings, that we are worse than animals. Jallikattu beats 26 other films to be chosen as India's official entry to Oscars 2021. The 2021 Oscar Awards will be held on 25th April instead of the usual second Saturday of February because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Netflix India's original series, Delhi Crime, has won the Best Drama Series Awards at the 48th International Emmy Awards. The series is directed by Indian-Canadian director Richie Mehta. The series is based on 2012 Nirbhaya gang rape incident. Actor Shefali Shah played the lead role, while Rasika Duggal, Adil Hussain and Rajesh Tailang were in other roles. The show, released in 2019, received massive acclaim for its sensitive retelling of a horrific crime that shook the entire nation. 2 other Emmy nominations from India included Amazon Prime Video's 4 More Shots and Arjun Mathur for his role in drama Made in Heaven in the Best Comedy and Actor series respectively. Both couldn't register wins. The next category is Persons in News. Labour Party MP Priyanka Radhakrishnan has become the first person of Indian origin to be appointed as a minister in New Zealand. She was appointed as Minister for Diversity, Inclusion and Ethnic Communities in Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern's Council of Ministers. She will also manage the Ministry for the Community and Voluntary Sector. Priyanka Radhakrishnan, 41, was born in Chennai. She did her schooling in Singapore and then moved to New Zealand for further education. She was elected first as a Labour Party MP in September 2017. Apart from Radhakrishnan, Ardern appointed Grant Robertson as the Deputy Prime Minister, making him the first homosexual person in the country to hold the post. US President-elect Joe Biden unveiled his health team, announcing Indian-American Dr. Vivek Murthy as Surgeon General of the United States. A distinguished physician and research scientist, Dr. Murthy received his bachelor's degree from Harvard University and pursued MD and MBA from Yale University. He later joined the Harvard Medical School as a faculty in internal medicine. He had served as Surgeon General earlier also under Obama administration from 2014 to 17. He was later asked to step down by the Trump administration. Dr. Vivek Murthy was earlier appointed as co-chair of Joe Biden's COVID task force. He is second high-profile Indian-origin person in Biden's administration, along with Vice President Kamala Harris. Football legend from Argentina, Diego Maradona, passed away on 25th November after suffering a heart attack. He was 60 years old. The star footballer had begun his professional career at the age of 16 with Argentinos Juniors, and later he went on to become one of the greatest players ever to play football. Maradona represented Boca Juniors, Barcelona, Napoli, Sevilla and Newell's Old Boys as a player. He was also considered the main player in taking Argentina to the country's second World Cup title in 1986. Father of Indian IT industry, Fakir Chand Kohli, passed away due to a heart attack. He was 96 years old. F.C. Kohli is referred to as the father of the Indian IT industry for his pivotal role in setting the Indian IT services industry and contributing to its growth to being a $190 billion industry. He is credited for grooming a generation of professionals who would go on to become leaders of the industry. He was instrumental in the inception of Tata Consultancy Services. F.C. Kohli had joined Tata Electric after completing his master's in electrical engineering from MIT, US in 1951. He was soon a part of the team that set up India's first-of-its-kind computer system to control the power lines between Mumbai and Pune. This creation made Tata Electric the world's third utility to adopt computers. In 1969, Kohli was selected by Tata Group chairman J.R.D. Tata to set up TCS, a startup that was founded as a management consultancy and transformed into a software development giant over the next 2 decades. Kohli is known to have defined the vision for the growth of TCS, guiding it in its early years. Kohli retired from TCS in 1999 at the age of 75. TCS is currently the world's third largest IT services company, contributing more than 70% to the Tata Group's profits. It is also the largest Indian IT services company by market capitalization and the most valuable company within the Tata Group. The legendary Bengali film actor Soumitra Chatterjee passed away due to COVID-19 at the age of 85 years. The star of Bengali cinema and winner of the Dada Saheb Phalke Award, he was known for his collaborations with the Oscar winner legendary director Satyajit Ray. Chatterjee's debut in the film world came with Satyajit Ray's Apur Sansar in 1959. The film was the third part of Ray's world-famous Apu trilogy. He played the lead role in the film Apu. Later, Chatterjee became one of Ray's favorite heroes and acted in his 14 movies, including Abhijan, Charulata, Ashni Sanket, Aranyar Din Ratri, Jai Baba Felunath, Sonar Kela, Gana Shatru, and Ghare Bhaire. Apart from the movies, Soumitra Chatterjee was known as a noted reciter, poet, and actor. 2 senior Congress leaders passed away this month. Ahmed Patel was a senior leader from Gujarat. An 8-time MP, Ahmed Patel served 3 terms in the Lok Sabha and 5 terms in the Rajya Sabha. He has always been the party's troubleshooter and was the key leader to coordinate between Congress and other parties. Another senior leader and former Chief Minister of Assam, Tarun Gogoi, passed away. He was the longest-serving Chief Minister of Assam, completing record 15 consecutive years as the Chief Minister from 2001 to 2016. Both the leaders were corona positive. Let us now look at major highlights in the category of national news. The election for 243 legislative assembly seats in Bihar was conducted in 3 phases in October-November, and the final result was announced on 10th November. It is a tightly fought election. The National Democratic Alliance, or NDA, emerged as the winner with 125 seats. The main opposition coalition of Mahagathbandhan could get 110 seats. Rashtriya Janata Dal, led by Tejashwi Yadav, was the single largest party with 75 seats, with BJP 74 and Janata Dal United of Nitish Kumar having 43 seats. Nitish Kumar was sworn in as the Chief Minister for the sixth time, with two Deputy Chief Ministers from BJP, Tarkishore Prasad and Renu Devi. The Supreme Court has said that the state government's consent is mandatory for a CBI probe, and the centre cannot extend the jurisdiction of the investigating agency without an approval from the state government. The Supreme Court bench referred to Delhi Special Police Establishment Act, which regulates the functioning of the CBI. While referring to the act, a bench of Justices B.R. Gavai and A.M. Khanwilkar stated that while the act permits the central government to extend the powers and jurisdiction of CBI to a state, the same is not permitted unless the state gives its consent for such extension. The verdict by the Supreme Court has come in light of some non-BJP states withdrawing general consent for CBI to probe fresh cases in the state's jurisdiction. 8 states have so far withdrawn their general consent. These are Kerala, Jharkhand, Bengal, Maharashtra, Mizoram, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan and Punjab. Uttar Pradesh government passed the Uttar Pradesh Prohibition of Unlawful Religious Conversion Ordinance that makes forced religious conversions punishable with a jail term of up to 10 years. The forced conversions are the ones that are carried out through force, deceit, misrepresentation, undue influence, coercion, allurement, or other fraudulent means. The ordinance lays down a jail term of 1 to 5 years and a fine of Rs 15,000 as a punishment for indulgence. The ordinance will also declare marriage being done for the sake of conversion as null and void. If someone willingly wants to convert for marriage, then he or she will have to give 2 months' notice in advance to the concerned district magistrate. If the person fails to do so, then the violator will invite a fine of at least Rs 10,000 and a jail term of 6 months to 3 years. Proving that the conversion was not forced or done through deceit or undue influence will rest on the person who converted and the person who performed the conversion. The ordinance fulfills the promise made by UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath to crack down on forcible religious conversions amid a row over love jihad. Let us now look at major highlights in the category of international news. China and 14 other countries of Asia Pacific signed the world's largest free trade agreement called Regional Comprehensive Economic Cooperation, or RCEP, on 15th November. The deal was signed virtually on the sidelines of the annual summit of ASEAN countries. The RCEP includes 10 economies of Southeast Asia called ASEAN, along with South Korea, China, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. With a market size of 2.2 billion people and a combined GDP of $26.2 trillion, RCEP is the world's largest trade agreement. The agreement includes a tariff elimination of at least 92% on traded goods among participating countries. India pulled out of RCEP last year over concerns about cheap Chinese goods entering the country. Indian industry was apprehensive that greater market access to China could harm key manufacturing sectors like steel and textiles. India also had concerns about giving greater market access to other non-FTA partners like Australia and New Zealand. Japan and Australia signed a landmark defense deal in an attempt to counter China's growing influence in the South China Sea and Indo-Pacific region. The pact was signed during a high-level meeting between Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga and his visiting Australian counterpart Scott Morrison. The defense agreement has taken 6 years to negotiate and would need to be ratified by lawmakers of both countries. The Japan-Australia Reciprocal Access Agreement comes weeks after foreign ministers of the Quad Alliance met in Tokyo. The Quad is an alliance of 4 countries: USA, India, Japan, and Australia, with China being a common adversary. Aung San Suu Kyi's ruling party National League for Democracy has won a clear majority in the Myanmar general elections. This is the second consecutive win for Aung San Suu Kyi's party since 2015. She remains popular at home but has been heavily criticized worldwide for a response to the Rohingya refugee crisis. Hundreds of thousands of Muslim Rohingyas have fled Myanmar after an army crackdown targeting militants. While Aung San Suu Kyi has defended army's action, the United Nations described Rohingya crisis as an ethnic cleansing. Rohingyas were also not allowed to vote in the election. Let us now look at news from the field of business, commerce and industry. According to the data released by the Government of India on 27th November, Indian economy contracted by 7.5% in the second quarter of the fiscal year 2020-21. With this contraction, India officially entered a technical recession for the first time. The July-August-September period witnessed a -15.6% drop in trade, transport, communication, and hotels. On the other hand, defense, public administration, and other services saw a contraction of -12.2%. Further, the real estate, financial, and professional services sector saw a contraction of -8.1% and construction by -8.6%. Some sectors bounced back with the resumption of economic activities as electricity, water supply, gas, and other utility services showed a growth of 4.4%. Other sectors, including agriculture, the fishing sector, and forestry, also showed 3.4% growth, and the manufacturing sector showed a marginal growth of 0.6%. The Indian economy was already slowing before the pandemic struck, growing only 4.2% in the last fiscal year, its slowest pace in 11 years. The Union Cabinet has approved the merger of Lakshmi Vilas Bank with the Indian subsidiary of Singapore-based DBS Bank. The merger was proposed by RBI. The announcement came after RBI imposed a one-month moratorium on the Lakshmi Vilas Bank and capped deposit withdrawals at Rs 25,000. The step was taken in view of the deteriorating financial health of the bank. The main objective behind the merger of Lakshmi Vilas Bank with DBS Bank India is to protect depositors' interest and to maintain the stability of financial and banking sector. The Lakshmi Vilas Bank Limited has a 94-year-old history in India. It has a strong presence in South India. The DBS Bank India is operating in India since 1994. The bank is currently present in 24 cities across 13 states. DBS Bank has a strong balance sheet with strong capital support. It also has the advantage of a strong parent company DBS Singapore, which is a leading financial services group in Asia with a presence in 18 markets across the world. The next category is science and technology. China has successfully launched an unmanned spacecraft to the moon to collect samples and bring them back to the Earth. China's Chang'e 5 spacecraft was launched on a Long March 5 rocket on 28 November. The mission is significant because if China becomes successful in its mission, it will become the third country to retrieve samples from moon after the Soviet Union and USA. China also plans on retrieving the samples from Mars by 2030. Indian Space Research Organisation ISRO has successfully launched Earth Observation Satellite EOS-01 as primary satellite and 9 customer satellites on 7th November. The satellites were launched from Sriharikota on PSLV C-49 rocket. This is the first mission by ISRO this year. ISRO Chairman K. Sivan had informed that at least 10 space missions scheduled for launch this year have been disturbed due to the lockdown. Among the 9 customer satellites, 1 belonged to Lithuania, 4 to Luxembourg, and 4 to the United States of America. WhatsApp has launched its payment feature in India after receiving the approval from the National Payments Corporation of India. All the user would require is a debit card with a bank that supports UPI, and then he or she can set it up right away. WhatsApp Pay can be used by both Android and iOS users after the latest update on the application. With the launch, WhatsApp joins other payment services offered through the UPI network such as Google Pay, PhonePe, and Paytm, which are some of the largest processors of UPI payments apart from applications of individual banks. WhatsApp is currently working with 5 Indian banks, that is State Bank of India, Axis Bank, HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, and Jio Payments Bank to process payment services. WhatsApp received a go-ahead to launch its payments feature on the same day when the NPCI also introduced a market share cap of 30% on the volume of UPI transactions starting January 2021. This means that WhatsApp can go live on the UPI network and expand its user base, but in a graded manner. In the end, let us look at some other miscellaneous news items. Cambridge Dictionary has named quarantine as the word of the year 2020. Quarantine was chosen as the word of the year 2020 after data showed it to be the most searched word on Cambridge Dictionary. Cambridge editors have noticed that people are using the word in a new way this year, describing a general period of time in which people are not allowed to leave their homes or travel freely, so that they do not catch or spread a disease. Research shows that the word is being used synonymously with lockdown, particularly in the United States, to refer to a situation in which people stay home to avoid catching the disease. This new sense of quarantine has now been added to the Cambridge Dictionary. Earlier in the month, lockdown had been named as the word of the year by Collins Dictionary. Meanwhile, Oxford was unable to pick up a word to sum up 2020. Reserve Bank of India has become the first central bank in the world to gain 1 million followers on its official Twitter handle. RBI has beaten the European Central Bank and US Federal Reserve on Twitter by becoming the most popular central bank to be followed on the microblogging site. Apart from the main social media account on Twitter, the bank also has another Twitter account called RBI Says, which helps in reaching out to the common man. The bank has also started a Facebook page with the same name in early April. With this, we have come to the end of this video. We hope you like the coverage of topics in our monthly GK capsules. Do also watch our other videos. Happy learning! Thank you.